This was about 12 years ago. There was a little child under the age of 1. So probably not a toddler, but a little kid that was born with a genetic disorder. That genetic disorder is called Alagille syndrome. Now, those kids that have Alagille syndrome tend to have issues with their liver, with their heart, and with many other parts of the body. But in particular is the liver. See, what happens is the ducts that allow the flow of things from the liver down into the intestine are normally blocked. And so this kid presented to the hospital when I was working after hours to have a liver transplant because the liver was completely not mutilated, but it had gone out of function. So the kid presented with liver failure. And so doctors operated on getting another person's liver, and that was liver transplant, and saved this child's life. See, what happened was there was that blockage that had to be removed, and so they got that new liver, sorted the blockage, and the body systems was restored, brought back to at peace, if you like. In medical terminologies, this is called homeostasis. So I'd like to give you the definition of homeostasis. For those that are not medically inclined, homeostasis is the ability to maintain a relatively stable internal state that persists despite changes to the world outside. I'll say that again. Homeostasis is the ability to maintain a relatively stable internal state that persists despite changes in the world outside. So, this operation certainly helped with homeostasis in this little one that had this genetic disorder. Now, I can give you some examples again in the medical field about what you don't have to have a disease, but homeostasis happens every time. For example, temperature regulation. We all know here you can have your extreme heat and your extreme colds in Sydney. In the far north, it's more hot. If you go far south, it's all cold. But when you're in an environment where you have to adjust, it's the, can you help me? What is the organ that actually controls the temperature regulation? You can Google it. You can. Someone say, I can't hear you online, but
it's our skin.
Our skin. Oh, our skin is the detector. Very good. Now, where is that central control? Please, let's have. It's not didactic here. It's interactive. So please, the skin detects it, and then where is the central control? Brain?
The brain.
Absolutely. Now, which part of the brain? Which one? Which one? There are many parts in the brain. Starts with H.
Hippocampus?
Hippocampus, almost there. Starts with hip as well, but or high. It starts with a high. I'll tell you. Hypothalamus. It's the hypothalamus that detects it. So the skin detects it, sends a message to the hypothalamus that it's cold out here. The hypothalamus tells the blood vessels to go up, or tells the pores to firstly open up. Or well, if it's cold, I beg your pardon. It tells the pores to close tighter, the blood vessels go deeper, so the heat is being kept in the body. Now the converse happens. If it's too hot, the skin tells the hypothalamus, it's so hot here. The hypothalamus tells the pores, open your pores, get the blood vessels to go to the surface, take all the heat and bring it to the surface and get the heat off the body. And so that's what happens. That's the homeostatic mechanism in terms of temperature control. So, you know, God is so amazing that He's made this mechanism of homeostasis in our bodies. And one little thing that goes wrong can really disrupt the whole body, as the little child experienced. But thank God that we had the ability to change, replace that, or unblock that flow, if you like. Now, we're talking about a physical block here, but let's come to could you have a mental block? Could you have a mental block? I think you could. Or a spiritual block as well in your life. I have a personal story, but I'm not going to go. I'm just going to highlight the fact. One stage I was in charge of a hospital, and a decision that we had in the board, I knew I was right and everyone else was wrong. Of course, that's always the case, isn't it? I wasn't happy with the decision at all, and it troubled me so much. Well, I went home, I brought that trouble home, I went over it, I ruminated over it. It became such a problem. I didn't eat well. I went and slept, still thinking about the problem. I told my wife, she knew I was turning and tossing in bed, really troubled by it. And I felt I just couldn't do anything. It was just beyond my control. And I said, what am I struggling here for? There's someone that can control everything, who controls everything. So I looked up in bed about 12 o'clock or probably 1 o'clock in the night. And I said, God, give me peace. This is troubling me. I need you. And suddenly, that peace, it was almost physical. It came through my entire body, my mind, my heart, and it changed. The mind controlled the physiology, so my heart rate went down, and I was able to sleep. And I thank God for that. Do you know what, brothers and sisters? Self can be a blockage to peace. Self can be a blockage to peace. We really need to give ourselves to God. Here's a quote from E.G. White and also from Isaiah 26 verse 3. It says, the Lord says, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. And here is a comment from Ellen G. White. She says, those who take Christ at his word and surrender their souls to his keeping, their lives to his ordering, will find peace and quietude. Nothing of the world can make them sad when Jesus makes them glad by his presence. In perfect acquiescence, there is perfect rest. I love that statement. It is like, all right, God, I can't do anything, here I am. And there will be perfect rest. Now, I've got a question that I want to ask you, and then we'll discuss this, and then another point, and then we'll finish. How many of you have had worries lately? How many of us struggle? And I'd like to propose to you that we struggle in 3 phases or areas of life. Number 1, the battles or the struggles we have are from without. 2, the battles that we have or the struggles we've had are from within. And then finally, the battles and struggles that we have are from deep within. So what are the battles that we have from without? The battles that we have from without are exactly like what we're experiencing now. We had the Y2K, 2000. We have the COVID. We have COVID that seems to be, in fact, it has controlled our lives, not just here, not nationally, but globally. We have had things about climate change, about special things. There are laws that are now being put in place by the world outside. They've done the big reset, if you like, and it's causing trouble. Christians and non-Christians are like us struggling. Are you one of them? I certainly, when it first came, COVID came, I tell you, as a staff at Nepean, we were in disarray. We didn't know what hit us, what to expect. Everyone was so nervous. Things were thrown out of perspective. At that time, we didn't know what to expect. And it was safe to say people were so worried, so troubled. People were getting sick, just getting the number of people attending or seeing a psychiatrist had gone up. Are we Christians suffering from that? Are we worried about the things that are going from outside? Well, I think they're very important considerations, I would say. It's not something to brush aside, but it's important to know that we're struggling. The whole world is. But I'd like to bring us a bit closer. What about the struggles that we're having that are within? Now, when I'm talking about within, I'm talking about within your own family, perhaps. Are you struggling with family issues? Are you saying something and your child is doing something else? Or you're saying something, your spouse doesn't believe in the same thing that you're believing in? Or you're having argument, you've left your wife perhaps, or your husband. Are there struggles that you're going through? Mom and dad not in agreement with you, battling over a piece of land perhaps, or a house. You know, there's so many things that are happening. One I've noticed working in the hospital, when someone, an elderly person passes away or is about to pass away, we see the worst in families. The brother and the sister fight over the land or over the house or over the will. Are you going through that? These are the battles from within. And I'd like to bring another aspect of the battles within, and that is the battles within the church itself. Is the elder saying something and the parishioners doing something else, or the pastor is doing something and saying something and everyone is not following what the pastor is saying, or is someone leading someone astray? What is the church saying? South Pacific Division, Greater Sydney Conference, South Pacific Division, or is it the General Conference? Are they going in line with the Bible is saying? It's troubling sometimes when you see things that are said that are not meant to be said. Are you troubled as a Seventh Adventist Christian? I certainly do get troubled. I'm not going to go into the details of the arguments that we have about doctrine and all that. I'm sure you know and you understand. But is that troubling? Does it trouble you? It certainly troubles me. Are those battles so insurmountable? Are they making you not sleep overnight? At night. Are you losing sleep over these things? Well, those are the battles that can come from within. But may I propose to you that the battles that are deep within are the most serious battles. These are the battles that only you and Jesus know. Only you and Jesus know these battles, the struggles. Paul refers to them as the besetting sins. Only you and God know. Your spouse doesn't know these. People that are, you go to your neighbors, your friends, your workmate, your pastor even, elders, they don't know this. It's just you and God. Have you got those battles? We all have these battles. And we're fighting them. Is there any end to these battles that we're going to have? Or the struggles? I'd like to propose to you the ultimate source of homeostasis and peace, Jesus Christ. Luke 2:14 says, you remember what the angel said, heralding the coming of Jesus at the night. Glory to God in the highest, and what? And peace on earth, goodwill toward men. What on earth? Peace on earth. Now, brothers and sisters, if you and I claim to be Christian, and Jesus is the reason for that peace, why are you and I struggling with having peace? We shouldn't be like the people that don't have a peace. Yeah, only we should be people that should show the world, that Christ is in us and that we have that real peace that He offers. You see, if we go through Jesus' story, you remember the story about how He controlled the environment? Peace be still. Remember that? There was a storm. He was sleeping in this boat. All His disciples were troubled. Everything was falling apart around them. He, the master of peace, was there. And yet, the disciples didn't have faith in Him. Are you having a rocky time, and is Jesus there with you? Of course He is. Why should we have that trouble? Why should we be struggling? Jesus will give us that peace. The environment that we're having that is falling apart, God can control that. And He will, as was evident during that time when He said, peace be still. Then the other time is, if you have problems within yourself. Remember the story of the demon-possessed guy in Gadara? This Satan actually had control over this guy. Brothers and sisters, Jesus came, got him out, got not just one, but many demons, legions, took them out and sent them out into the swine, and they died in the sea. Jesus is capable of doing that even now. Have you got demons in your life? Have I got demons in our lives? Are there things that are controlling us that we feel that we can't let go? I'll tell you what, this man Jesus can control. He can get rid of that for you and for me. Now, excuse me for using this analogy, but I've been trying to see lots of people I talk to, they say, why on earth did Jesus have to come and die on the cross? Why did He have to do this? And I struggle to try and explain. They say it's silly for someone to come and die on the cross and do this. Those that don't understand. So I'm trying to look at something that is so bad and make an analogy out of it. What would you think? How low could someone go to? What would be a good example that you'd choose? Well, I'll tell you what. I work in the hospital, and I work with giving anesthetics to patients that have a procedure called colonoscopy. Does anyone know what a colonoscopy is? Well, a colonoscopy is simply, well, someone wanted to say, yeah? Does anyone know what a colonoscopy is? Well, I'll tell you what a colonoscopy is. It is putting a camera in the back passage and looking for any cancer, polyps, or whatever there is, if there is a bleed there. It's a common procedure done in Australia. Since Australia is one of the highest, one of the highest incidents of colon cancer. So it's a very common procedure done in Australia. Now, it means it's going through where the rubbish normally stays. Some people have a good enema. Others don't do the enema well. And it can be very interesting if they don't have a good enema there. Now, bear with me. I'm coming to a point. I know lunch is almost around the corner, and I'm going to turn you off your lunch. But I think this is a very important point here. If it is really terrible. Now, that's just with one patient. Now, if you have about 10 patients who don't have a good enema, it can be very interesting for all of us in theatre. Now, if there was a blockage, obviously things can be bad. I was saying, all right, so how can I put this? Because that's probably one of the lowest things. If you want to insult someone, you call them, well, Christians don't do that, but the non-Christians definitely do that, and they call them by that name, you know? They use that name, a description, a very, very bad adjective that they use. And it's referring to that. So you can't go any lower than that. Now, if you imagine that, look at your own, you go to your home, and let's say one of your toilets was blocked, and things couldn't flow through. what would you have to do? You'd have to get a stick to poke it and then to get the blockage from, and stop the blockage or unblock it by using a stick. I'd like to propose that the proverbial blockage of your toilet and my toilet was done by Jesus without a stick. He put his hand in and he unblocked it. But that was just yours and mine. Now you can imagine there's a proverbial accumulation of the world's septic blockage right there, so that homeostasis couldn't happen. Jesus had to come down and sort that out. What did he do? He didn't use a stick or a machine. He dived into that septic tank himself without any protection, and he went and unblocked that. Now, you imagine that. That is what Jesus did for you and me. Now, if that doesn't move you, I don't know what can. Because Jesus was prepared. You know, he hung on the cross, naked. He didn't have anything to cover him. He dove into that proverbial blockage and head first, may I say, head first. And he was willing to do that to unblock the world's septic tank that was blocked to provide homeostasis. And you know what? Before he did that, he said to the disciples in John 14:27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." This is before Jesus went to the cross. He said, "Peace I live with you." Now this in Greek, the peace there is called irene. Now irene means it's not you're away from any trouble or war or trouble. You will be in trouble, but you'll have peace. That's what irene says. Now Christians, brothers and sisters, have you got peace? I got that peace that whatever people throw at us, we're still going to be peaceful? Now that's a true test of the disciple of Christ. Because here Ellen White says, I love this one. You know, when before someone dies, they give a statement. Everyone's around the deathbed listening to what was the last. I don't know about the Caucasians, but certainly for the Melanesians, we have to go around and say, what did Dad say? What was his last statement? Or what was Mom's last statement? And we hold on to that. I'm sure it transcends culture. It transcends ethnicity. I'm sure it's the same. So you were holding on to the last statement. Now Jesus, before he died, he gave two things. He showed an example of baptism, so we carry that. And what was the other one? The Lord's Supper. That was before his death. But may I propose something that we don't take into account or as often? This one is peace, irene. He said to his disciples, I will give you irene. There will be trouble. You will be persecuted. You will have people coming after you for my name's sake, but I am giving you irene. Brothers and sisters, I just want to propose the people that will have the peace that Jesus have, are the true disciples of Jesus. With the COVID going around, you and I won't be running around worried about this, worried about that, worried about everything. We will have that real peace that Jesus had. In the storm, he was peaceful. At Gadara, he didn't feel threatened by the devil. In many instances, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was battling, but he had peace. On the cross, he had peace. That peace that he had, he is promising. He has promised. Not promising, he has promised. And you and I can have that peace. Now, I want to read a statement here that really meant so much. Before our Lord went to his agony on the cross, he made his will. He had no silver or gold or houses to leave his disciples. He was a poor man. And listen to this, as far as earthly possessions were concerned. And it says, few in Jerusalem were so poor as he. Now listen, Jesus was one of the poorest people in Jerusalem. He came from, he came from the hood. He was so low. He was one of the poorest people that you can ever come across during that time. And here he says, this is so powerful. Few in Jerusalem were so poor as he, but he left his disciples a richer gift than any earthly monarch could bestow on his subjects. Peace I leave with you. Peace, my peace I give unto you, he said. He left them the peace which had been his during his life on the earth, which had been with him amid poverty, buffeting, and persecution, and which was to be with him during his agony in Gethsemane and on the cruel cross. So, brothers and sisters, Christ bequeathed to his disciples a legacy of peace. Why are we troubled? Battles from without, battles from within, battles from deep within. Why are we troubled? You and I have that very, very special gift of peace, of irene, that he has given to you and I. I was just looking through some statistics today, and I found out that the United Nations peacekeeping force, do you know how much they're spending for 2021? $6.5 billion for peace. You go online, you will see many advertisements from people that say, I can work on your inner peace. Come to this psychological blah, 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 blah. They'll make it people paying a lot of money to actually go and see these people. Why waste the money when God has promised us irene? And that is his gift, his will to his Christians. He didn't have houses. He didn't have lands. Seventh-day Adventist Christians, we mightn't have houses. We mightn't have land. We mightn't have riches. We mightn't have that we're saying we're not rich compared to these other people. Christ did not leave you and me houses and lands. He left us peace. Because do you know that houses and land cannot give you peace? The North Shore, where there's a whole lot of people, rich people live in the North Shore and around the beaches there. The highest percentage of suicide amongst the young people is from that region. Money, houses, and land cannot give you peace. Only Jesus can. So I would like to encourage us, brothers and sisters, today, that let us grab that peace, that irene that Jesus has promised. It's a free gift. It's his will to us. He bequeathed it. Bequeathing is when someone's about to die, they give it to someone. That's for us. That's for you and me. Don't have the problems let's not be worried about what's happening without, what's happening within, what's happening deep within. Give it to the Lord. He has given you and I peace. And the peace that passeth all understanding will see you and I through. I'm going to read this last text. It's in the Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7. In the NIV version, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace," here it is also the irene of God, which transcends all understanding. The King James Version says that passeth all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds and in Jesus Christ. Brothers and sisters, I want to present irene to you. May God richly bless you and I as we are going to come towards the time where we'll be persecuted, no doubt. Claim that peace. It has been given to you and me. It is our inheritance. It's our right. It's the will that is given to us. May God bless us.